Okay, we are live. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Yvonne here from My Halal Kitchen. And today I'm here with another special guest, Hoda Nuruddin of Billy Doe Meats, based in and around Chicago, Illinois. Assalamu alaikum, Hoda. How are you?
Salam, how are you doing? So nice to be here with you.
Yes, yes. We have met by phone and email and lots of virtual, well, not even like seeing each other until today.
So it's nice to put a face to the name, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I know how it looks like.
Yes, it's the power of technology. But we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the phone and email, and you have a really cool family business, and I got to know a lot about you and your business and your wonderful halal meats by talking to you and then tasting them and cooking with them. So, and I know some of my readers have commented that they've also tried your meats and loved them. So we thought it would be really fun to dive in and let you tell us more about what you do, what's your family business, and we'll just talk lots of animals today. And beautiful, beautiful products you have. Very tasty, high quality. As a cook, it's a dream to cook with your meats. And you have a lot to say. You're very knowledgeable about what you have and what you do, and you're very passionate. You have a beautiful Instagram page, by the way. And so I just want everybody else to get to know you as well. So tell us about your family business. Like, where are you guys from? How did you start this Billy Doe Meats? And I wouldn't expect it to be a halal food company by the name Billy Doe Meats. So tell us all.
So, my dad is actually, this is all my dad's child. So 22 years ago, my dad started a slaughterhouse. My dad's actually a doctor by trade. But when my grandfather came in the 60s, so we have a third generation now here in the US. And so, when they came, there was a lack of halal foods that was available in the US. And, he really wanted to create this really holistic form of providing our communities, especially, we're based out in Chicago, providing our community with good halal meats, providing them with something that was halal and tayyib and, and high quality, not just, shipping it over from Australia or New Zealand, which is the case with most halal meats here in the US. And then he also wanted to really support local farmers. He really wanted to invest in the communities in which, were providing us our food. And so, my dad started a slaughterhouse 22 years ago. And then, 4 years ago, he was like, we were just kind of sitting and we just realized that, so many people were, even the people we were providing to weren't really keeping up the standards that we wanted people to receive their meats as. We don't want people to receive their meats in garbage bags. We don't want to, we wanted people to have a really high quality halal experience, so to speak.
Right.
And so, he was like, what if we just started processing? And the idea first was like, and then let's distribute to other meat processing people, and they can sell our meats in a beautifully packaged way.
I love that.
And then as we kind of kept going into it, we just realized that so many people were trying to cut corners for costs. And they're trying, they didn't want to pay good prices for good meat. Even though they were going to upcharge them even though we're going to upcharge customers anyway. Right.
And that was the argument. Halal is expensive, but it was like they were upcharging a lot of people.
Yeah. And so, but the thing is they wanted to pay less for the actual raw product or even package and everything, but then, charge customers more.
Right.
And so we were kind of like, you know what, we're just going to do this ourselves. Literally me and my cousin were, I know nothing about graphic design. My background is in anthropology.
Oh, well, similarities here.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. We're a band of misfits. My cousin, used to have a business. He's a graduate of finance. My brother's a lawyer. My other brother's an environmental scientist. My brother's a pilot / he just and psychology major. So we were just like, okay, we're gonna do it.
Can I clarify then? So
yeah, sure.
Your dad started this and took, and he had been doing this for all these years. And then you guys come in, you're grown up, graduated from school, and now you have all these talents that could be implemented like in the modern world, like the social media, the graphics. I mean, it's something that it's harder for our parents in many ways, right? Like, yeah, because it was a lot to catch up with.
Exactly.
So you guys are at the perfect age to kind of jump in and sort of market all this stuff and like really speak to the people about, the language of the. Okay, that's what I'm getting. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. So we just wanted to create a new, we wanted to present it to people in a way that was new. And so, like I said, we didn't know much about what we were doing. My cousin and I literally started in the library. We sat down on my laptop and we were like, well, how do we make a website?
Oh, wow.
How do we reach people?
Oh, wow.
The product is good, but how do we get started with people? So yeah, so that was our beginning. That's Billy Doe. I know you mentioned the name Billy Doe. Billy Doe came from the idea of a Billy is a male goat and Doe is a female goat.
Right.
And for us, we thought about making it something very halal brand name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we recognized that like the creek stones and the, and all these really great, also halal, options out there. What we wanted to do is create something that was universal, that anyone would feel comfortable eating, whether they were Muslim or not. The concept is high quality halal food. So a lot of our customers don't prescribe to halal as their main, for religious reasons, but they recognize that it's just such a better, higher quality meat.
Mm-hmm. And your pictures are beautiful. You really have captured, because when I got them in the mail, they do look like the pictures.
Alhamdulillah. That's the most important thing.
And that's something that anybody would want, right? You don't have to prescribe to halal to appreciate that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Precisely. And so yeah, so we so that was our beginning. To tell you a bit more about our sourcing practices, we source from farmers, small family farms and small Amish communities. Our big thing is, like I said, when my father started this, it was giving back to these local farmers who were kind of losing out to these bigger companies trying to industrialize husbandry and raising foods, where it's not an industrial process. It's a very you have to be connected to the earth, to the land, to really do it well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And so yeah, so we even to this day, I just went out to visit a farm, and you just see you're just like, wow, this is such a happy place to be.
I love
40 acres of beyond, and they're like 20, 30, 40 animals.
Oh,
they have 40 acres and they're goats. So you can if you're really trying to math it up, and it's just, and again, every farmer has different practices, but the nice thing about working with small family farms or even Amish farms is that they really do care about the process. They really do care.
They have to. They love their land. They love their animals. I mean, it's a different world, isn't it? And when you enter it, it's sort of like you feel like you're just so much more connected with the earth. And I feel like farmers are, there's something so special about them. I mean, they're really providing us nourishment. They're taking care of those animals to provide nourishment for us, and they just really need to be respected.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you have a great relationship with the ones you work with, and it's
our network of farmers has been like, you know, thriving since for about 22 years since my dad's.
Wow, that's wonderful. And it's all about the relationships.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. They all have my dad's number. And I'll call them directly and let them know what's going on with their animals. And
wow, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. I'm a sucker for farms and anything with like sheep and goats on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, there's something, it takes you to another era, and it's life in perspective. When I was living in Turkey, you know, there were a lot of, you know, times where you just would drive and then you'd see the shepherd going across the road with all his sheep. And I don't know, sometimes it would just bring me to tears because it feels like something from a different lifetime, right? It takes you back to like the source of where you're getting your meat. You don't, that's the thing. I mean, I'm probably getting a little bit out there with that comment, but I think we are so detached from where our food comes from these days that, you know, we go to the grocery store, we pick it out, but when you visit, it just puts everything in perspective. It's like there's a huge process to this. Yeah. And that's why I'm always encouraging people to go to farms or take their kids to farms to really show them where things come from. Because I think it also reduces that notion of food waste as well, when you really understand what it takes to process these animals and that they've been truly sacrificed for our nourishment.
Exactly. And you know, it's Pamela that you said that, like, one of our main, like, you know, one of our main missions or values is to bring people back to the source of their meats. Let people know that, you know, this isn't just something that, you know, this isn't made in some factory.
Right.
This is a very, you know, this is a very, like I said, holistic, very, like every animal is different. Every single, you know, animal that we process is very different. And it's very, it's, you know, just even the meat cuts are going to be unique. It's not like, you know, it's not like a big factory that you get like, you know, standardized cuts of.
Right.
You know, there's of course all the same high quality. It's all the same delicious taste. But it's just wonderful to kind of be a part of that process.
So how do you get, excuse me, how do you get these, so that you've got this variety of farmers, and then, so tell us how the halal part comes into play. How does that meat then, how is it processed in the halal way, basically? Yeah,
definitely. So, I mean, halal and play, kind of just going back to like the way that the animals were raised, that's like the first very
definitely.
And then of course comes the slaughtering process. So everything that we do is done by hand. You know, the entire slaughter, nothing that we do is done by machines. Not even cutting up the meat and the processing stage is done by machines.
It's all by hand.
It's all by hand. We you know, use knives. If anyone's interested on our Instagram, you can go into our hand cut little highlight.
Yeah, I'll put the link up.
And, you know, just see that like literally everything that we do is we saw. We don't use a bandsaw. But, you know, going back to the slaughtering process, you know, we do everything. We say the prayer upon the animal, and we cut it, and we slaughter it by hand, sacrifice it by hand, and we allow the blood to drain, and then, you know, the animal moves on to the process, to the cleaning and everything.
So
yeah,
can we go back a minute, because you touched on something that I'm always asking people who provide meat. I'm always asking this question for years about the raising of the animals, and you're probably the first person I've ever spoken to who, when I asked about the processing, you went back to, well, it starts with how they're living, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of that, because that is where it starts, right? The life cycle of the animal. So what is it that you are looking for when you're looking at, before they even go to sacrifice, what is it that you're making sure of that is done properly, or halal? What is it that you're monitoring?
So, I mean, for me, it's like, even though I don't go to every single farm, I don't visit every single farm.
Sure.
When you do visit these farms, and if anyone has the opportunity to visit like a small family farm, you'll see that just like I said, the animals have, you know, they have good access to food. They're not mistreated. They're allowed to be in the light.
Right.
There's a lot
outside.
Yeah. And to be honest, you'll see that after 22 years of doing something, you'll see that it translates into the quality of the meat.
Definitely.
So, we'll get animals sometimes, and even before they're slaughtered, we'll be like, we're not taking this animal. And then after they're slaughtered too, sometimes, because that's where a lot of things go wrong. Yeah. We reject it as well. We're like, I'm really sorry, we can't take this.
I mean, you're dealing with a live species of something, and then you're turning it into food. So it's not like every single one would be the same.
Exactly. But like I said, the quality, you'll just see that the treatment and the life of the animal translates through the quality of the meat.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So, it's just about, it's just about dealing with integrity. Because for us, it's like, we're going to be asked about every single person that eats our meat. And that's by the way, that's a very scary concept. Even when I say that, I'm like, oh, that's even scarier to even like bring it up to people.
Well, that's what I have to say. One of the first things I recognized when talking with you is that you're really, a conscious person, a God-fearing person. And I think when it comes to anything, especially in business and dealing with food, that responsibility is so high. And I've noticed that about you right from the beginning, that you're just so conscious of that. And that makes me feel so happy and so, so confident in that, we're going to get something that is the best possible, that you guys are looking out for us as consumers. That's so important.
Doing our best.
And the animals, I always say this too, like, you are what you eat eats, right? So if we're not monitoring what the animals are eating, and are they, you hear this all the time, like some companies say we have happy cows or happy chickens or whatever. Really, it's the fact that they're living in the way that they are supposed to be, what's natural to them. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, farms that I've been to, I've talked to farmers, and they tell me stories about, when animals get sick and they have to give them medications, there's so much that's involved in taking care of animals and making sure that, well, in the halal sense, that everything they're ingesting or, that's getting into them is also appropriate for them biologically, and that it's halal, right? So it's comforting to know that you're so conscious of all those things.
Inshallah. And I ask that everyone, here sends a prayer for us, that we, consistently stay true to what we hope to provide, and that we, and that God facilitates it. And that, because we're constantly learning. And, I think one of the biggest, we're really like I said, we're like 5 siblings and my cousin.
Family. I love that. I love that it's a family business, and you can really, mashallah, there's a lot of barakah or blessings in doing that, and I think that's really beautiful. Really beautiful that
and I think the thing that we're very conscious of is that we're going to make mistakes, and that we're also here to correct our mistakes.
Sure.
We're literally here for every single person. As who eats and who we provide our meats. We feel like everyone who eats with us, really, or eats from us, is an extension of our family, and that we owe them that same obligation that we owe each other.
You've certainly made me feel that way, with our conversations, and you're always asking me, well, so how are you doing? And you just don't see that anymore. People aren't, they're just too busy for just a simple question, how are you? And I love that.
So, it's really just about connecting with, I mean, that's our goal. We're a family, and we hope to treat everyone like family.
Well, I certainly feel that, and the animals can sort of bring that on to us, right? There's when you're dealing with animals, I think it makes you a lot more emotional. It makes you a lot more in touch with just life in general. So I think that's very fortunate. I'm just a sucker for farms and animals. So.
I'm in the same boat. But the one thing I did also, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
The one thing I wanted to mention, because we were talking about halal, is that we are halal certified as well.
That was my question.
Oh, okay, perfect. Look at us. We're reading each other's mind. We are halal certified. We've been halal certified by the Sharia board for 22 years. They inspect our facilities. you know, make sure that everything is up to date. And like I said, we feel the responsibility as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but you know, the certifiers are third parties, and
absolutely. And, you know, and if anyone is interested, you know, on our website, there's a certifications page, and you can also find us on the Sharia board website itself.
Awesome. I have put links up for your website, which is, I encourage everybody to go to your website. It's really beautifully done. And also your Instagram page is really nice. And I've been working on some recipes as well, but we'll get to that at the end. What I really also thought was very clever about your business model is that you have these lamb subscriptions. And I can remember back in the day when I first came to Chicago, you know, I was a very new Muslim and I just wanted halal meat, but me being the cook that I am, it was very hard for me to just go to the store and get like a little bit. I kind of wanted to plan out my meals and, you know, have enough and I also wanted something farm fresh. And friends of mine were, you know, it was kind of complicated back then because there really wasn't a way to get like a whole cow or a half a cow or whatever. So we would go together in, you know, with another family or so, and then buy a whole cow. And then it was a big process because you had to go to the farm and, you know, wait for things to be slaughtered, and then they'd cut it all up, and then you'd have big plastic bags. And you have to come home and then put it all in freezer bags. And it was like an all-day process. And to me, that wasn't that fun because that wasn't the kind of farm visit that I was interested in, you know. But that's how it was. And so things have changed. And so your lamb subscription is interesting because it just means that you can get this constant flow of meat. Right. Yeah. So you tell us a little bit more about that in detail. What's that? What is the subscription box?
Yes. So with the subscription, we have a goat subscription and a lamb subscription. With how the subscriptions work is that you select 2, 4, or 6 weeks. 2, 4, or 8 weeks. And you know, you have the option to get 4 pounds, 6 pounds, or 11 pounds on it, like in those intervals.
Oh, okay. Each time.
Yeah, each time.
Wow. That's good.
So that way, you know, if someone's not looking to have a huge amount of food on a regular basis, you know, they can plan accordingly. And what that does is really, we're just trying to make it a little bit more affordable to get premium cuts. You know, it'll, you know, if you're getting like lamb chops or loins or all these really like premium cuts of lamb or goat, it adds up quite quickly.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a consistent subscription, you can, you know, sometimes you can, if it's just based upon availability, you can call me and be like, hey, we're really interested in having this, or call us up and just, you know, we can provide that for you within your kind of within that weight that you selected. And again, then you get, you know, a lot of people ask us about free shipping, and, you know, is there a certain threshold that we can, you know, use for free shipping? The answer is generally no, because you're just shipping meat is such a big responsibility and a cost that it just kind of has to be mitigated somehow, because we ship nationwide, right to people's doorsteps.
Yeah, you ship to me in California, and I felt, you know, sometimes when I get packages, it's like there's so much packaging in there, but it didn't seem that way. It was nice and cold, but it wasn't like I wasn't bombarded with packaging, which was great.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm really focusing as much as I can. It's meat, but I'm really focusing on being as, you know, not wasting as much as possible.
Yes.
That's really one of the most important aspects for us. You know, and one thing, you know, I'm constantly trying to evolve and make better. But yeah, so, you know, like I said, with subscriptions, if you're on the East Coast, Midwest area, we're able to offer free shipping. And then, you know, it's great to, like, you know, constantly have that, you know, that variety of meats come to your door, and you can kind of just be interested and ready to cook with whatever is coming your way.
Right. Yeah. So do you get to pick the cuts of meat in the subscription, or is it just whatever's available?
You can. I mean, if you generally, I reach out, you know, one of our team will reach out to me usually. We'll reach out to someone and just be like, hey, what are you interested in having in your box? Or we just, if we know the customer, because again, a big part of our thing is to know our customers and we know what they like. We do our best to provide them with exactly what it is that they would want in their box, and requests can always be made.
Meat concierge.
Exactly, precisely. I mean,
wow.
And one of our things is, we're like your personal butcher nationwide.
Yes.
It's not very frequent that you can call someone and be like, hey, I want a custom cut of lamb, or I want a custom cut of goat or a custom cut of veal. I'd like there's something like eye of the loin or a backstrap of lamb. There are or a leg of lamb or a shoulder cut or something along those lines. Again, because we literally just have a fresh animal that was just processed. The running joke is that your lamb probably had hopes, dreams, and aspirations yesterday, and it's on your table today. But forgive me. But that's really for us. It's like, that's how fresh it is.
Nourishment. Yeah.
It comes the day before to us. It comes the same day it's processed, and then we get to cut it, package it, and then either put it in the cooler or freeze it right away to preserve its freshness.
And the way that you vacuum seal your meats, I mean, you can see the freshness just when you get it. You can see the color. Color is key to meat freshness, right? That's how we know. And I've been consistently nicely surprised with everything that I've gotten. I've tasted the beef, the lamb, and the kidney meats, which we're going to talk about today. But tell us about the goat. I know you sell goat meat, and one of the things that the recipes that we're going to do today is goat kidney, which I have to say, when I got my box, I was like, I can't believe they're doing goat kidney, because I have never seen it. I mean, I'm sure it's in some of the butcher shops, the halal meat butcher shop. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I never really saw it. And if there is a goat somewhere in the back, there probably are kidneys and organ meats. But number one, most people are not fond of eating organ meats. They just aren't used to it.
Yeah.
It's a super nutritious type of meat. I'll get into that during my recipe. But goat meat in itself, are people buying this in the US?
So yeah. So when we first started, goat meat is such a nutritious source of meat. It's really lean. So it's lower in like fats and cholesterol than even chicken and turkey. So it's a very lean meat, but then it's the highest in protein, higher protein than beef.
Wow. Well, if you just look at the animal itself, it's always climbing and jumping, and they're really active animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they, just by looking at them, they're very lean. So
they're really cool. I mean, they're really cool animals. But just as with their meat, and they honestly, it's such a delicious cut of meat. Like it's once it's cooked right, you can treat it just like beef. It's really such a versatile. It's a versatile cut. It's a very similar taste profile to beef. And the only cooking tip I would offer people is that, like, if you're pan searing it or grilling it, you'll wanna cook it on like indirect heat and not cook it past medium. Once it's cooked past medium, it just, because it's so lean, it's tough.
It's tough. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. You need a lot of fat with the goat meat, because just look at the animal. It's not a fatty animal. It's a lean animal. So, and also I find pressure cooking is the best with goat.
Yes. That was my next. Yep, that was my next point. Is that like slow cooking, or pressure cooking it, or braising it?
Yeah, Dutch oven, something.
You're the cooking expert. So
no, but you know your meats, and I think slow cooking is great. I like goat meat in stews. I feel like, because it just does that slow cooking, and if you're a cook who's nervous about ruining something, I would say, don't saute it. Just put it in like a curry or a stew or something. Yeah. It just, or even like a rice. Well, goat meat biryani was one of my favorites when I was living in Chicago.
But honestly, I also would not discount grilling it or pan searing it because it's such a good cut like that. And I thought the only thing you have to be aware of or cognizant of is not letting it get past medium. So if you're nervous, just get a thermometer, like a cheap thermometer. Just make sure it doesn't go past like 135.
And just put some fat in there. Fat in the pan will help.
Yeah, exactly. So I really, because I think one of the things for us is that we've been doing since the beginning is making sure that goat is something that's not just an ethnic dish. It's not just it's wonderful in those dishes and I love them. But for us, it's also like a very relatable daily dinner that we can just throw on a grill or because it's so easy to cook and it's so delicious. So yeah, but it's amazing in stews and amazing in curries.
Yeah, I mean, I just in general, I think it's not popular in America. Just like lamb, you know, I have been countless times had people over for dinner and they'd say, I really don't like lamb. And I would just say, well, that's what I made. And then they would try it. And then, wow, this was so good. Because but if they're not used to cooking it, they feel like it's very gamey or they just don't know what to do with it. So a lot of people kind of get nervous about that. And I think experimentation is one, good recipes are another. And, you know, personally, gaminess is part of the deal when you are getting things straight from the farm. But I think that's a great sign, to be honest. And pressure cookers kind of alleviate some of that gaminess.
But one interesting thing, and I don't know if you notice this with our lamb or not, is that domestic lamb and the breeds that are used really have a very mild and buttery taste rather than an overpowering gamey taste. A lot of the gaminess comes from breakdown of quality and whatnot. I mean, of course, there are just some.
Your lamb did not taste gamey to me at all, which I wondered why. Because
it's American. Like honestly, you know, you'll find that in New Zealand and Australian lamb, which is what most of the lamb, even like just provided in the U.S., is based from. But the reality is that those are a byproduct of the wool industry of those countries. Mainly, like from what I know from New Zealand, New Zealand lamb is a byproduct. And there's a really big push, even from there's something called the American Lamb Board, whom we work with. There's a really big push to really support local farmers, local lamb producers, domestic lamb producers, because the lamb just is better quality and tastes better.
Well, it's wherever you are, it's important to get the local product, right? I mean, that's really where we need to sort of be, I think. And after this pandemic, I think most people are looking at domestic sources of whatever it is, right? Yeah, and it's time. It is time to do that. I would have to agree with you wholeheartedly on that. For let's just say, aside from what you mentioned, when you get something local, the shipping is less costly. The shipping time is fewer, and so you're just upping the quality game on a lot of fronts, and you're supporting local farmers, which is really important wherever you are in the world.
Absolutely,
support what you have. And a lot of countries have even looked inward after this pandemic to say, okay, we're exporting so many things, but we have to feed our own people too, especially during this pandemic. So I think that's a really good point that you made.
Oh, yeah.
And someone is asking, do you deliver to Southern California? And I can tell you, Mitra, yes, they do, because she delivered to me, and I am in Southern California. So
you do.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean how we ship nationwide is we have these thermal chiller cooler boxes, and we freeze your meats like straight after processing them. And we ship, and then we put dry ice in the packages and we ship them out to you. So, yeah.
Pretty simple. Pretty simple. So good question. Now, what about chicken? We didn't talk about chicken or beef very much.
So chicken and beef are I want to say they're not our specialties. They're what we provide because people really love both of those things.
Right.
And so, but we do provide them. Beef goes through the same exact process. We only use black Angus beef. And what we do is, we we only have a select cut of those. We'll process one every month or two because they're so big to process. We want to make sure that we do a good job when we process them.
Right.
And we also don't want any waste to happen. So we're very cognizant of like when we process them.
The liver was awesome, by the way.
I'm glad to hear that.
So delicious. So I'm a fan of the organ meats, you know, so.
But like fun fact, the beef liver is actually about 4 times that size. The actual beef liver is
so you couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
So, wow, yeah, that is huge. I mean, the portion that you sell is huge enough for me. You know, that could feed 4 people.
Yes, it could. It's very big. It's it's amazing. It's really amazing to get to know your meats. Yeah. So our beef, like I said, it's all black Angus. Very high quality. Tastes really, like, honestly, tastes amazing. Like a noticeably different taste. And then with our chicken, we source our chicken from a nearby farmer who raises his chickens on Amish practices. He's, we've had the pleasure of speaking to him many times and kind of just getting to know him and his process. And he's just awesome. And it just him and my cousin have have had a really fun conversation. And, it's amazing when someone, they're a multi-generational farm.
Yeah. Right.
So, and they've been doing this for a while.
We know what they're doing. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please finish.
Oh, I was just saying, you can tell the difference of the chickens when you get them. They're smaller than what you'll find in the grocery stores. They don't have a weird smell when you're cooking them.
Yeah.
They're really easy. It's just a really nice cut of chicken.
I think when someone has tasted what meat should taste like, you can really kind of never go back to what, because it's almost scary to then go back to that other quality. And then you think, what was I eating? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. I think, and I know people, cost is always an issue on people's minds and stuff. But what I also could say to that is, I don't think we need too much meat. Mm-hmm. It's the quality we're looking for. I mean, it's actually sunnah to not have a ton of meat anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we can do you sell bones at all? I never asked you that.
We do, because we use everything from the nose to tail, which is, I know what we'll get into.
Love it.
Also organs. It's very rare that we have bones, but we do have bones. We don't, so if anyone is looking for them, they can always call and request it and make sure that as we're processing, I can save some.
That's awesome, because I'm a bone broth girl. I love to make my bone broth, so I will call you on that one.
Definitely, please let me know.
Because I'm looking for the quality bones, and I would want them from these animals. I mean, that's another thing. It's so healthy to make the bone broth.
Yes.
And
if anyone's up for it, get the marrow out. It's really good.
Get the marrow out. Yes. That's where I feel, these nutrient dense parts of the animals are really the things that people aren't used to eating. The organ meats, the bone broth from the bones, and the marrow. This is where you get a ton of the nutrients.
Absolutely.
More than the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Just kind of being a part of this process has been, it's been amazing to kind of like learn more, because I'm learning on the go.
It sounds very humbling, actually.
When we started 3 years ago, I was in college. I was finishing up my last couple of years of university. And, I was very like, I want to do something important with my life. And I want to go, I loved anthropology and I loved academia. And I was like, I just want to keep pursuing this and keep doing this. But as more and more, as we kind of as I got more and more into this and started working, I had the great, alhamdulillah, blessing and opportunity to work with my family, and I was realizing that people really were looking for a good source of meat, and they needed to find it. That people would call and randomly be like, "Thank you so much. This meat helped me such and such and such way," and I'd be like, "It's just meat, bro." For me, it was like, it's just at the beginning. I was like, and he kind of it was really interesting that like I recognized very quickly that like this was so fulfilling because people were actually being benefited by it. And so this has kind of been it's been a very eye-opening experience.
I think what I love about working with you is this marriage of, you know, these high quality meat products and the cooking part of it. Because for me, the cooking is not just this random, you know, like Instagram worthy dish that's just out there without consciously thinking about it. I'm looking at, is it healthy? Is it nutritious? And that's, I mean, we need to feed our mind, body, soul. And I want to know that the animals have been cared for, because I also believe like we get kind of that energy of the way that the animals have lived and sacrificed. You know, that's a different topic in halal, but I think it's all wrapped up in this holistic cycle of things. And I've had friends who have called me, and in random conversations, we'll talk about feeling really tired, you know, just not feeling well in general, and then come to find out, you know, well, what are you eating? What's the diet? And the source of their meats, or they're not getting the bone broth, or, you know, when we'll have conversations and then share a recipe for bone broth, for example. That's one of the most common ones. And then they'll come back and say, oh my God, what was that? That was so easy to make, but yet they felt so strong after it. And personally, I feel nervous about just randomly going to certain markets and then just picking it up. There's more to it than just hopping in and getting like halal meat. I want to know more. Yeah. I want something transparent. I want to understand that the people behind it care, and maybe that's asking a lot, but you know what? We found each other. So it's possible. You know, and I feel better about that. I feel I don't need a ton of meat to feel satisfied. It's the quality that is more important than that quantity. So I would encourage everybody who's listening to go to your website and sort of pick out a few things that are nutrient dense and try those, because you're not going to really find, you know, especially like the organ meat, I feel you're not really going to find the variety that you have with that quality in most stores. That's my personal opinion and experience. So, and I've, you know, trekked around lots of different places, and I know how difficult it can be. Someone is asking, are your meats organic?
So our meats are not certified organic. We have not gone down that route. There's a few reasons why, but it's that would be a whole other.
Yeah.
But to say that we really do care about the process in which our animals are cared for. But so the short answer is no, we're not organically certified, but again, everything comes from these really small farms.
Well, I think what people might not understand sometimes as well is that organic is a huge and expensive process. And if a food company is not certified organic, it doesn't mean that they are loading their products with chemicals or anything. You can just really, I'm always asking when I go to a farmer's market or something and they're not certified organic, and they'll, you know, go through the pains of explaining to me, and I'm like, I get it. It's expensive. And then they have to drive up the price of their products, but they'll tell me we don't spray anything on our grasses or on our, you know, our vegetables or whatever. And I'm okay with that because we understand, I mean, I work in halal. I understand that certifying anything, whether it's gluten-free or kosher, halal, organic, there's a price tag to it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a process, but it doesn't mean that if someone doesn't have it, that they don't hold certain standards. So that's why it's so important to get to know the businesses that we're working with, and that's why I asked you here today. So,
and thank you for that. That's actually exactly it. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to launch into a tirade about how.
Well, let me do it then.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
Let me do that. So, excuse me, one second. I dropped my papers. So one of the recipes I wanted to get into today, well, not one of, but the recipe that we're gonna do is the goat kidney. So I have posted pictures on Instagram of my cooking with kidneys, kind of get a kidney and liver to kind of get a feel for what people would say about it and how they feel about it. And I actually got quite a bit of positive responses from almost everybody. And I think these are people who have it in their tradition. I think it's common in more Middle Eastern, Persian cooking. But I would say like probably people who weren't raised with it have a harder time with. I was not raised eating organ meat, and I had a hard time with organ meat. But once I learned a couple of good recipes, I was fine.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna move the computer up to the counter so that you guys can all see what I'm doing. And do you want to tell us anything about? Do you have any specific recipes for kidneys?
You know, when it comes to kidneys, I usually just pan sear them. I'm very low maintenance when it comes to my cooking. So I just pan sear them and put some like salt, pepper, and maybe some Trader Joe's mixtures of spices. Exactly. I'm ready to go. But I'm looking forward to see what you can.
Well, it's pretty similar what I'm doing. So all I've got here. So I've got about half an onion. I'm going to chop this up. These are your goat kidneys. I love the way that you packaged everything. They were in my freezer. I defrosted them overnight. So I'm going to just cut the bag, and these are small compared to the other animals. I'm just gonna thinly slice them. Is that how you do it? Or do you do it whole? Because I've seen kebabs where they will just stick the skewer into like either half of the kidney or the whole. If it's small, they'll do the whole one.
Yeah.
That I would love to try, but I don't have the grill on or anything. And then I've got salt, pepper, cumin. I do a tiny bit of a smoked paprika and oregano. And you can do turmeric if you want, but I'm not actually going to put that in here today. It's an addition you can use. And then I get this blend of Persian herbs at my local market, because there's a lot of Persians here in Southern California, and they have the coolest spices and herbs. They do a lot of greens. And so this is like a mix of parsley and leeks and cilantro. It's really tasty. And then I have garnishes. Like, I think everybody should have herbs, right? It's like rosemary, fresh oregano on top is good. You don't have to use so many spices if you don't want. But this is kind of my trick for getting myself to eat organ meat, because sometimes I have to have a little bit more on it to consume it. But that's okay. If you don't want all of this, you don't have to. So let's see if I can move the camera. It's can you see my cutting board? On my end there's a little bar at the bottom of the camera, so I don't. Okay.
Let me see if I
Let me see. Let me move. No, can't see that. Let me put this. We are always rigging there. Is that better?
Yes, it looks. Yes.
Okay, cool.
If you want to maybe bring your screen down a tad bit more.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So my head is kind of cut off, but all I do is I don't do a whole bunch of onion, but I dice it up and, of course, warm up the pan with some nice olive oil. Some people like to do ghee with organ meat, but it's up to you.
It really is a personal preference. I think what I love about this is it reminds me of, just sitting in my friend's kitchen while she cooks. So I appreciate it so much. all of which we've been missing, I think.
Yeah, I miss that. With the pandemic, I feel like I used to have friends over all the time, for lunch or dinner. And that was the best part, was just really talking to people while we're, cooking. And I love cooking for people that I love. And it's been hard to not be able to do that. I wish I could, cook and then send it to people.
Inshallah soon, inshallah. But I think unless you have some, unless you're looking to tell your followers more about your cooking process, which I don't want to interrupt that. I wanted to
no, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead. I'm doing about, because this is such a small amount of kidney, I'm doing about a fourth of that big onion that I had. So I don't like to overpower with too much onion, but you need that flavor, personally. So I love these bags. Scissors are very important in the kitchen because I use them for everything. And I'm just going to take them out of the bag. And I'm gonna have to, my cat is staring at me. She's over here watching me. So
that actually happens a lot with my cat, so I appreciate this.
It's so funny because in Turkey, the cats eat this stuff like easily, and my cat does not eat it. But today, now that I'm doing this interview with you, she's watching and staring, and I'm thinking, I would love to give this to her, but not today because we are cooking it. I have tried to give this to her a long time. Anyway, so look how beautiful these are. Can you guys see that? Look at that color. They're absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, if I may say something, like, I hope I'm not grossing people out, but a lot of times when I go get things from other stores and I bring the meat home and I take it out of packaging, the blood is everywhere. And it's not happening here. Your meat really keeps the color. It's really like the freshness is very evident. So just want to say that. So, okay, I warmed the pan and just sauteing the onion. I gotta kind of work fast here because this is gonna go fast. So I'm taking a lot longer than this would normally take because I'm talking, but I'm just slicing up the kidneys into thin strips, and then I'm throwing them in. I'm not waiting for the onion to get translucent or anything because this is going to go so fast, and I have to kind of work fast to get the spices in too.
And I think something important about, you know, it really is important about the freshness of the organs. I mean, organs are they are a delicious cut, but they do have to be fresh.
Yes, they do. And what I want to say to people is that, you know, they are super nutrient dense food. So if you're looking for, I always talk to people about nutrient density in food. And they're high in choline, protein, your B vitamins, which is very important for mood stabilizing, vitamin A, vitamin K. I'll send a link out here to people to get, you know, show you some benefits. But I really encourage people to eat more organ meat. And this is a great dish for suhoor, actually. You know, or iftar if you want. But you know, a lot of people eat this as a breakfast food around the world. So why not?
Yeah, it would be perfect to keep you energized and you know, ready to take on the day during fasting, as we all know. Or you know, who are
you need that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm just interested. I'm interested in kind of hearing. I know you're new to cooking organ meats since we sent them to you. I think I might be wrong, but just kind of wanted to hear more about your experience cooking them. How has it been so far? I know you're cooking the kidneys, but how have your past experiences been with our organs?
My past experience eating organ meat was that it was tasteless. And so I think it's how you cook it. You know, and you know, I'm not over spicing it. I showed you a lot of things that I'm putting in it, but I put a tiny bit of each one of those in there. Again, cumin, sea salt, dry oregano, smoked paprika. I'll put these dried greens on top, herbs, and a little bit of black pepper. And then I also have some fresh herbs like fresh oregano I want to put on top. Lamb and goat is a great companion to rosemary or oregano. So, and you know, I might serve this with rice or with flatbread or something like that. And personally, this is something I would definitely eat for breakfast or support.
Yeah.
See, and now I'm going to show you guys. It almost looks like mushrooms. It almost looks like mushrooms, the way that they're shaped. But the way that I know it's done is that that center part is cooked thoroughly. You know, and again, you don't want to cook them too much because they'll get tough. It's almost, you have to watch them because these are small. Now, if I was doing liver, I would do the same process, but then I would add a little bit of maybe tomato sauce and a little bit of water, cover it, and let it slow cook. I don't do that with the kidney meat, but with liver meat, I cook that a lot longer.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it. So
I'm the same boat here as well. Liver meat is really good when it's slow cooked. Slow and steady wins the race, and in this place, it keeps the flavor.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it smells great. It really smells great.
I wish we could get some smells this way.
I know.
That's one thing technology hasn't done yet.
Right. I'm always saying, like, we need smell-o-vision, you know?
Exactly.
So this is something I would definitely encourage everybody to try. And look, I'm going to show you how it even looks so pretty. So I'm going to put, some herbs off to the side, put some green herbs on top. I would, if it wasn't Ramadan, I would be trying it in front of you guys, but I'm not going to do that. So maybe with some flatbread, but I don't want to hide it right now because it's hard enough to see on the camera. So I'm just going to show you. It's just a small plate, but look how. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, well, it looks it really does look like mushrooms, like you mentioned.
It does look like mushrooms, right?
Yes. I might actually try this recipe tonight. This is my
super easy. I'll put this on my website, and for everybody watching, you can get the goat meat, goat kidneys, or lamb kidneys and beef kidneys on your site, right? All three.
Definitely. Yep.
Awesome. Please try it, and try it with this recipe, or tweak this recipe. But I'm telling you, you and your family will really like the flavors here. It's so similar to what we do to like maybe kufta. Like it's a similar spice mix, right?
Yeah.
So what if you don't like those spices? Try the spices that you actually like. Don't over spice it. But it just tastes. It smells wonderful. It's not too gamey or anything. So, and my cat is right here. Maybe she'll eat the cooked one.
You should try it. Let me know how it goes. I was thinking about this for my cat too, so this would be great.
She never ever did that before. She never ever came by and like sniffed around with the meats. But that's a good time.
She's camera ready.
She's a gourmet cat, so she knows what's good. So anyway, I just want to thank you for being here today, but also thank you to you and your family for serving us. And it truly is a service by working with the farmers, sourcing quality halal meats for us. And, I just want to encourage everybody watching to support your business because with your support, there's everybody's support that will keep things going. And you guys really deserve it. So
thank you so much. Please keep us in your dua. And it was wonderful being online with everyone here.
Thank you. Thank you so much again. And Ramadan Mubarak to you and your family. And hopefully
thank you as well.
Maybe after Eid, we'll do this again with a different cut of meat.
Absolutely. Would love to.
All right. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye, everybody.